space, final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And joining us is Dr. Squee.
Hello.
And, well, we're here to talk mainly about Picard. But first of all, apologies to anyone who's been wondering where the hell we've been.
I think anyone on our group knows.
Yeah, we have been watching Discovery. There might not be a lot to say about it, but we're going to talk about that briefly in a moment. But yeah, we've all had things going on that have made podcasting a little bit difficult, but we are back to cover Picard.
Yeah,
so
we've been emotionally compromised.
I was going to say, basically, everyone's had a good couple of weeks, is what I'm getting from us. Nothing's gone wrong.
Pretty much. So yeah, going forward, we're just warming up this week. We're easing back into it, so we're just covering Picard with a little bit of Discovery.
Yeah, what we've decided with Discovery is we have to do like a quick catch up now of what's gone on, and then when Lower Decks of Prodigy is back on, as a second episode, we'll go back and look at the 4 episodes properly that we've missed, so we do get them actually reviewed properly.
And we'll pick up the coverage as normal next week. So we'll get big bumper episodes covering both of them.
Yeah, and the 50th that we're broadcasting doesn't look like it's happening. We can't fit it really into the schedule.
Technically, this would be our 50th live broadcast.
And may I say, by the way, if we were going to do 50th for anything, this was a shit hot episode of Picard. I mean, after the last series, it's almost like they knew and they, that we needed some good Trek right now.
Yeah.
And my God, was that a great...
They delivered.
For any Star Trek, that was wonderful. And after the first series of Picard, my hopes went high. I'm not going to lie. Even with the trailer looking so good, it's like they hoodwinked me before with the first series. But man, was it good.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Before we get into Picard, though, shall we talk about...
Let's cover Discovery. So,
there's only 4 episodes and, there's probably only a couple of minutes worth of what's actually happened in the story.
I will say, though, I thought this was a remarkable improvement. The last couple of episodes, especially, I thought the rest of the series, it was kind of a bit all over the show, and the anomaly really wasn't. Given that was the main kind of impetus for this series, I don't think that was enough of a focus till later on. I don't know what you guys think.
Weirdly, I'm the opposite to you. I thought the first half of the season was really strong.
Yeah, I've much preferred it before the break. I've found since the break, it's like we're getting this strip of heading to the anomaly and what the 10C are, but it's literally a drip feed.
See, I don't know. It's just I felt like the first half of the series, it became, for me, the bits which I didn't like so much in Discovery, because it's bullshit, this thing that some Star Trek fans don't seem to have realized about Star Trek always having been a thing like woke, if you want to call it like that.
Oh, yeah, no problem with that.
But sometimes for me, Discovery just goes melodrama, and I don't take to it. I didn't
goes
love
a bit too far.
The episode with the ship's computer becomes sentient. I'm fine with that, but they made it so there was no control over it. It reminded me of the episode with Data in it, where you get him, he takes over the ship. They then go, oh, okay, we better have some protocols to stop him doing that in the future. This ship does, and they go, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, don't see a problem with that having ultimate control over every member of the crew as a crew. I get, it was a wonderful idea to have it as a crew member, but not one which could take over the ship so easily. And that's kind of it was that kind of feeling of the first series for a lot of the episodes, where it was just all about how Burnham was feeling and had the breakup with Book, and just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the breakup with Book, see, this is weird because that first episode that we came back was the one where they went to play poker. And the whole thing was like, oh, Book's a fugitive and blah, blah, blah. And then they meet up with him in this poker thing and it's all flirty and good fun. And it's like, no, hang on. He's like...
Yeah. But I mean, I didn't mind the episode so much if you ignore the fact that it doesn't make much sense. They're all flirty, as you say. But it was that guy who was running the casino, which like really bothered me because he had these metaphors which didn't really make any sense if you didn't know the frame of reference, which we don't. And he was just, I think he was meant to be this wisecracking guy, but you have to understand his references a little bit for that to really work.
Yeah, it was an odd episode.
It was a really odd episode as a return to the season.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly don't think a mid-season break was originally planned.
I agree. I don't think it was. I think you would have made the cliffhanger better and the return episode stronger if you had planned it that way.
Yeah, and like they're talking from next year, all of the Star Trek will be 10 episodes per season, which all of the rest of them are apart from Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Discovery could have done with losing 3 episodes.
Yes, yeah.
Well, certainly.
This year, I honestly feel like this last 4 episodes has been hard work to watch.
It's really funny.
I found it really, really.
I mean,
found it almost. Yeah, I have found it hard work. It's what?
That's weird. I found that
knocking on probably 3 hours of TV, and all we've done is we haven't even met the 10C yet. Who these four episodes have been heading to go see the 10C.
I just think I was just pleased for them to finally to get to the anomaly and to get to the action of it and get the fact that when they destroy this big thing which can destroy the universe, like they rebuild it like that. That was kind of really cool to have something that deadly, and they've just pissed it off, or at least Book has, and they don't seem to want to stop pissing it off. I love that kind of whole side of it. It was kind of it made the stakes quite big.
Yeah, like if we ignore the poker episode, and then the next episode was all right because that was like a standoff between Book and Discovery, and
that one of the bad episodes. Yeah,
I can also throw in it was nice in that poker episode that even though they're still not doing it very well, they're trying. It looks like to develop some of the other characters because Uwaga. Sorry, I'm going to butcher it. Owashiko, you actually got her sort of taking a bit more center stage. They still don't really have anytime they still do character development, it's always got to be off the back of Burnham. It can't be 2 characters which are main crew members, which aren't there's about 3 or 4 crew members who always get the kind of like attention. And all the other ones have to be in a scene with one of them. I'd like to see a couple of them just chatting. Like when they had it on the bridge in that episode where they were going about like, hey, I'm looking forward to climbing a rock when I get home in the this area of Earth. I'm looking forward to white water rafting. It's like that still doesn't show me anything of them, but I think that's meant to make you feel like they're developing the character.
They're sort of doing something with Adira and Detmer, like that Adira's got this hero worship thing for Detmer.
Which came out of nowhere.
But if they now develop it, then,
Exactly, but I feel like it's the same thing they always do. You start to feel like they're going to develop the character and then they just shy away from it. Like, again, you still don't know the history of these people. You don't know, you don't know little facts about like when they were growing up. Like, they used to pepper in facts about O'Brien, for instance. He started out as an ancillary character. You'd hear these little things about him and you got to know him and then he became a member of the crew. That was wonderful. They haven't done that very successfully in Discovery and they're still not quite nailing it. I think they're trying now. I think they've heard the feedback, but they're still just not quite getting it right.
Well, that leads us on actually quite nicely to talking about Picard, because when you talk about them hearing the feedback, like I really, really, really got the sense from this episode that they've listened to what the critiques were of the first season. And I think, I didn't dislike the first season. I enjoyed it. I thought it didn't live up to...
It didn't live up to expectations.
It just felt on Star Trek to me. It's just the feeling of it, the look of it. Nothing felt like Star Trek. And that alienated me.
This seems to be addressing, if not all of, then certainly most of those things. Like, I mean, we'll break down the episode, but like straight away, the first thing you see, you've got the classic red alert symbol, and we're on a starship, and
we're on and it's recognizable. It's a new ship, but it's a recognizable environment.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing.
We immediately know that we after TNG era, but you can see the development and why it's
I mean, the look of the Discovery, I've said before, like it's a bit sterile, but it still feels like it's in the world of Star Trek. It's like it may be in the far future, but it still creates that feeling. Whereas just Picard season 1 didn't at all. I mean, my only slight qualm, which I will happily overlook for this, like what we got, is that it's suddenly like every one of them is back in Starfleet, just that. Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. Look, if that's what you need to do to give me the Star Trek I want, I am fine with it. But it's quite jarring if you think about it for any time, which I'm happy not to.
It wasn't what I was expecting. Like I mean, they did set up certain things. Like Picard, you got the impression that he could go back, but Raffi, it really didn't look like it, and Rios, it really didn't look like.
Oh God! And has Rios ever looked more like a pound shop Han Solo than on the bridge with the cigar in his mouth?
and have you noticed when you watch it on Amazon, it has all they do all the warnings and stuff, and it says smoking.
Yeah.
And at not one point through the episode does he actually light the cigar.
No,
It's never lit. He has it. He has the lighter. He lets go, but he never lights the cigar and actually smokes it.
I just thought it was so bullshit looking. It's like, how do you create him looking like a rebel, a bit of a tough guy, despite the fact he's back in uniform? I know, cigar back in his mouth. Cool.
I think it's pretty cool. I think he's obviously got a Syntha cigar, and he's obviously decided, I'm gonna smoke on the bridge. It doesn't harm anyone. So
I'll overlook it. I just think it looks a bit cheesy.
I had no problem with it, but what got me is that they've actually put the warnings on the TV that it contains smoking, and at no point does anybody smoke in the episode.
Well, he's like Bill Clinton; he never inhales, so you know.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna get this out of the way. This is my pet peeve, and this is one of my pet peeves, and I've banged on about this I don't know how many times. I hate it when episodes open with a flash forward to later in the episode, and then we get 48 hours earlier. Or what. I just don't like it.
So
dumb. However, if the trade-off here is to give us this opening sequence that puts us right in, this is the new look Picard, this is what we're going to be delivering this season, then okay, if it's scene setting, I'll let it go.
Yeah, I think you've answered that as well. I think they probably, like you said, they probably listen. They're going, it's like, right, we need to capture them back in. We pissed quite a few people off with the first series. Let's just have one really Star Trek looking opening scene.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, though, is like getting away from the fact that it's just a pet peeve of mine. Do they maybe give a bit too much away in this opening bit?
No.
Do you not think?
No, you actually think something different. You think things have gone worse than what they do in the end, and you think that
I thought it felt very much like they were trying to call to mind, even a specific episode, cause and effect. Really felt like, okay, let's give them a modern cause and effect to get them in, and again, it's so recognizable. Yeah.
I just thought the fact that you see the green phaser thing and you see the Borg Queenie person.
Yeah.
Whereas it feels later in the episode like the Borg is meant to be a bit more of a reveal.
That's fair.
Than it comes across. I mean, ultimately.
Do you think it was a last minute edit then?
Maybe. I mean,
to be fair, as soon as I saw the, even without any of the trailers, as soon as I saw the green anomaly, it just screamed
definitely.
Borg.
No, definitely. As
soon as you see green, you think Borg.
Yeah, which is fair enough. But the episode looks like it's trying to play it as a reveal, which I don't feel like it comes across as. But like you say, the green, and also
I think the Borg are going to be different to what we're expecting.
I think they are, and we'll get onto that. But so that's my critique of the opening. However, so this is just sort of symptomatic of how much this is almost like a reboot, really, of Picard, because the credits are totally different. Not just the graphics, but they've really zhuzhed up the music. We said several times last season, there was nothing memorable about the Picard theme tune.
It's still the same. It's still got the same tune as an undertone, but they've added.
They've really messed with it.
It's kind of like in season 4 of Deep Space Nine, where they upped the tempo of the music.
I'd say they've messed with it more than
Yeah.
that. You know,
They've
it's
done-
less.
It's like they've overlaid parts of next gen music
this
and
is
other
that
bits.
that
And
really dialed up, and it's got a sense of excitement and action and foreboding. And
I still wish he had a ship going through space, though. I'm sorry. I like a ship going through space. It gets me in the mood for adventure. It just does.
still think you're going to get that.
I think we're going to get that in May.
Yeah.
But yeah, good job on doing the credits up. Much better.
Yep.
And then it is 48 hours earlier, but I've talked about that. So again, everything about this is just telling you like this is completely different to season 1. Like we open on Chateau Picard again, and I think it's a deliberate callback to how season 1 opened. But instead of it being Picard just mulling about on his own, no pun intended with mulling, I just realised I did that with wine and stuff. Anyway, but now it's all hustle and bustle, and there's loads of people around, and he's sending this wine out, and we've got this song playing, and you know, time is a motif that comes back again and again and again this episode, but the music, the song is saying time's on our side, whereas last season it was very much this man's waiting around to die, whereas this,
I think that was last
like
season. That was what last season was about. That age.
Yeah. And that's
but it's all about him giving up, and you never want to feel like Picard gave up. That was the huge misstep, I think, of the first series. This is a Picard who wants to live, but he's still got this thing he's always had where he struggled with love and reaching out to
I think the
people.
thing is that it's 3 seasons, and they've confirmed now that it is 3 seasons. But we knew that from the start. And Patrick Stewart was told how the story was going to go, and that's what sold him. And I think it's all. There's different parts of his missed opportunities in life that are going to be looked at through each season.
Yeah, I think so.
The first one was that he shouldn't have left Starfleet, and he made mistakes with that. This one is looking at how he's made the choice to be on his own, and it'll correct that. And I hope he ends up with Laris.
Oh, so do I. And didn't she look like? She looked beautiful in the first series, but she looked really amazing in this. And I
like that Romulans have an island.
Well, we know that from season 1 that they must do.
But... I mean, for me, it was the fact that, again, the first series, it's like, I don't ever want my hero, like, Picard has 2 things when he's faced with a situation where Starfleet doesn't want to do what he wants to do. He either kind of convinces them it's the right thing to do, or he goes rogue. He does not quit for fucking 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not my Picard. It's the same with Batman from the Nolan movies. He doesn't quit for 7 years. That's not Batman. Like, whereas this series, yeah, he's spending some time in his vineyards, but he's not giving up. And you've got that wonderful thing, like you were saying about the setting of this one and seeing how busy it was. You've also got that wonderful thing which Next Gen always did of having an old-fashioned scene, like a vineyard, something which is timeless, and then they put a bit of machinery which gives you a little wink to the fact that it's in the future.
Yeah.
And they did that, and it
like,
was just
I liked
so
how
great.
he was going along and tasting the grapes to see if they were right, and then Machine came along and just beamed the whole bush, the whole bunch up.
But that's how you show that it's like, yes, there's a timeless scene, but there's still some technology which sneaks in any time period, and that's what Next Gen always did. So that gave that, and just
Yeah, it's a complete contrast. And I think it's deliberate, the contrast. And then talking of Laris, we've got poor old Jaban. Apparently, he's just died off screen in between seasons because we want to set up Laris as a potential love interest for Picard now. So feel bad for that actor. Just gets the call. Yeah, no, we're not bothering this season.
Yeah.
Because Patrick's got to get his leg over. You're out, mate.
I do love the explanation that where we mourn, they go towards a greater love. Like that seems like it seems like it could work somehow, you know. Another
really,
species.
she's maybe she's into the absolute candor as well, because she's not backwards in coming forwards in making a play for Picard, is she?
And that moment when they almost kiss, and you're like, they're gonna, oh damn it, go on, Picard. It really does get you going.
It does. It's good. And the stuff about, like, obviously this is going to be a big theme because she's asking him why he's chosen to be alone. And then we get this interesting flashback stroke dream to
Well, I think he goes into the big conservatory thing, doesn't he? And I think he's remembering his childhood.
yeah.
And I love that. It's one of those things whereby sometimes it can feel really forced to add a new element. Like, again, the first series, I think just a lot of it was forced. Whereas this seemed like it fits in with everything we know about Picard. To have this idea that it was his mum who sent him towards the stars. And then you build on those themes. And then when he's seen Guinan and they mentioned something that was never spoken before, sorry to flash forward in the episode a bit, but it all fit with everything we know about Picard.
Yeah.
It's very night and day to, like, for instance, something I was talking to you guys about the other day, like with Doctor Who, when they forced this whole huge backstory for the Doctor that just there's nothing to suggest that previously. Whereas this fits so beautifully.
Yeah, it's interesting to sort of, because we saw Picard's mother once in a vision that wasn't really her in one of the weird season 1 episodes, and
where No Man's Gone Before, wasn't it?
No Man's Gone Before, and that's all we've seen. And there seems to be this implication that his father was potentially violent from what we see.
That's actually in the autobiography and all that sort of hinted on.
Well, also it fits in with I think that's probably in a way also a nod to Patrick Stewart's own background, because his dad was abusive, and it's something he had to come to terms with. So, but again, it fits Picard's personality. Maybe that's why he's standoffish. His dad was abusive, and his mum was maybe for some reason, he lost his mum. It would fit that he became the man he did.
I'd not made the connection to Patrick Stewart, but I think you're right, and I would guess then that this is probably something that he pushed for, that he wanted to explore this. So that's going to be really interesting.
Well, he talked about when they were on the early days of Star Trek, and he basically admitted he had a stick up his bum for a lot of the time, and they took the piss out of him until he lost it. And he opened up and he became more himself than ever. So it does seem like there is a little bit of borrowing from his own experience as well, which is all good gravy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And they do tie in, like you said, this thing about his mum saying, look up, look to the stars. And she's introduced it as a way for him to ignore his parents fighting. And so there is this implication that potentially has Picard always been running from that? And does that feed into his reluctance to form a romantic relationship? Because is there some part of him that thinks, well, that's how it ends up, is this horrible thing? So I think, we're obviously going to get into all that, but I love the fact that it's almost like this episode is sort of a mission statement for the whole season. It's introducing all these themes that I think are what we're going to be picking up on, and we're going to be dealing with a lot more. A nice little acknowledgement that I thought was when he gives the speech at Starfleet Academy, he says that his mum had said, let's see what's out there. And that's, of course, what he says right at the end of Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah.
So, brilliant.
Again, beautiful weaving into what we already know, which fits perfectly.
Yeah, and where we got it from.
Yeah, great stuff. There's a lovely special effects shot where we pan out from Picard and out past the planet and out through the thing, and we end up at the spatial anomaly, which, as you said, Elliot, it's going to be no surprise that it's the Borg.
Akira class it took out.
Yeah, so is that one of the new ones? No, or was Akira?
No, I think the I think the Akira class made an appearance in DS9.
Right, because
it might have been in First Contact.
And is there any reason why they don't have letters after, like the Stargazer? There isn't a letter after it.
The Enterprise with the 1701 was given that as a special legacy.
But there's
Discovery. So they might rename it another ship, and we had the HUD, which was another one of the 17s with the Constitution. But when there's been future HUDs, it hasn't carried over that NCC.
Yeah, I think the
NCC has been as a sort of tribute to what the Enterprise did, being carried over as a legacy.
Yeah,
I
just
think
There's a
seems,
legacy
yeah.
number with the ship
Because
name.
they talked about legacy though with the Stargazer, so it seems like that would have
Well,
the letter from what they're suggesting from
yeah, I
that.
think though it's only for basically it's only if you've had a TV show. That's the real
Yeah.
word.
like the
If we're going for an in-canon explanation,
yeah,
like
the San Paulo was allowed to be renamed the Defiant.
yeah,
Yes,
the
yeah.
Stargazer didn't really have that prestigious a thing, really. Picard
No.
just moved it to the Ferengi, and then it turned up years later. So,
But they talk about it as if it's this ship of legacy, and then
No, the talk about it that it has a legacy because it had been Picard's ship.
yeah, it's the name.
Is the
rather
point?
than-
It's that the point is that because Picard's become so famous as a Starfleet officer,
Hmm.
it has
Yeah.
that legacy that he'd been the captain of the previous Stargazer.
I just like.
But
the
it
little
doesn't
letter
have the
after it.
number because the numbers are only carry on with the ship name in special occasions.
Fair
when
enough.
it's
Fair enough.
Enterprise.
Yeah,
I knew you'd have an answer, Elliot, and it's kind of the one I knew, but it's like I was like, I don't know.
It has
Just
been
be cute.
mentioned somewhere. I'm not sure in books or it might even have been on screen, but it is only done for special ships.
yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it's great to see Picard's back at the academy, back in uniform. Raffi's back in uniform. There's a Klingon flag in the background, so maybe the Klingons have joined the Federation, or maybe it's just representative of different species that are there.
Well,
I don't know.
Had the sort of made peace again. They had made peace again, hadn't they? by
Yeah,
the
yeah. In
DS9?
DS9, they
Yeah.
re-signed the Kitmar Accords.
Yeah.
So they
But
sort of found-
I want to see a Klingon because it obviously the hugely controversial redesign of the Klingons in Discovery, which I don't think any of us are a fan of. And
Well, they even backtracked that, didn't they, in season
Yeah.
two?
Yeah. Oh,
They-
they've grown their hair back.
so I
They
feel
shrunk
like
their heads.
we haven't seen a Klingon since season 2 of Discovery. So I feel like we're shying away from them. Maybe because they're probably weighing up their options. Like, do we just go old school Klingons and piss off the new fans?
Now,
or
are
do
we going to
go-
see when we get Strange New Worlds in not next month after next in May? Are we going to see Klingons just with blackface on and a couple of bushy eyebrows?
They
I think
might
it's more
tone down-
Mediterranean look.
Yeah,
Maybe we can get
they
away with
may
it.
tone down the blackface, but
It
you
wasn't.
never
I mean,
know.
look, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Obviously, blackface is evil and should never be used. But
It shouldn't.
I
but
don't think it was blackface per se. I think it was more like
No,
it was olive
wasn't-
skinned and then more of a kind of Caesar kind of look. I always felt.
Yeah, it wasn't intended as literally as blackface.
No,
but-
and it was the level of special effects back then
Yeah.
That's true.
for
but
makeup.
if
But
you
even for
happen-
the time, I don't think it was blackface per se.
No, it wasn't.
I
No.
think that's it. The way they did it was excusable as an
But
alien race.
you try explaining that if someone who doesn't know what the crack is walks in while you're watching a Klingon episode.
yeah,
So, you know.
Yeah, there's that.
So yeah, Picard, again, we're doing all this thematic stuff. He's talking about second chances. He's talking about time.
he's talking about time's actually the final frontier.
Time is the final frontier, which, you know, we're going to find
That's
that out.
Picard porn. That's Picard porn right there. That's what we needed.
That ties into what Q told him in All Good Things. He says, like, you know, what humanity's evolution about is exploring existence, not space as such. So, and obviously with what Q says right at the end of this episode, it looks like we are going to directly follow up on that. So Elnor's at the academy, so that's great. That one makes sense. Like, yeah, put Elnor straight in the academy. It looks like they've sat down and gone, how do we get as many of these characters back into Starfleet as we can?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
like-
mean, again, it was forced.
But
Fine.
So
the
I
only
think
one
we
who
can put
feels
Elnor
really
at
forced with a position was Jurati when she explained it.
Mm,
What had happened to her?
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I-
no,
yeah.
no. By the way, I didn't mean that he was forced in the academy. I think that one was good, but most of it is forced with them
Yeah,
being
yeah.
back in there. But
I-
again,
I
if
have
that's
no
what you
prob-
need to tell me a good story.
Well, if we look at it like, okay, Rios, He's back in Starfleet and is a captain. That's how's that happened?
That's
But
quite a jump.
Jurati started seeing him, and she's tagged along. Fair enough. But how she came out with the explanation, like, I was let off with murder because I was under the influence of an alien. But that sort of explained all of that away.
Yeah, and
I was really happy. I had no problem with what's the name? The android
Soji,
because Picard's back in Starfleet, so they've released a ban on synthetics.
Yeah, which we
that was fun, yeah.
We thought
and she's out there as a diplomat.
Yeah,
she's basically on a book tour, although every time they mention Picard's an android, I always wince a little bit. Like, I don't want Picard. I want it to be the Picard I've seen in everything else. I don't want him to be a robot. I'm sorry. Nothing against Data, but just
it doesn't matter. That's the point. Is that he's still him anyway? I mean,
that's the point. That he's still Picard.
But I know it's not him.
Yeah, to all intents and purposes, it is, and also. The fact that they barely acknowledge it. So again, I think that's one that they're like, right, we've done that, but don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah. I think that's what they do.
Yeah, Soji is on a planet in the Beta Quadrant, and it does say that it's Deltans that they're dealing with, but it's not Delta 4, which makes it even more amazing that Jurati manages to resist this guy's advances, because we know that Deltans have like a pheromone thing that you can't resist, and that's why Ilea had to take a vow of celibacy and all that in the motion picture. So Jurati's really not in the mood, or maybe the guy's just not. Maybe he's playing.
Maybe she's just that drunk.
Yeah,
it's not working on her.
And she does explain that her and Rios have broken up, so they've obviously decided. We put one too many relationships in at the end of season 1. So
I think them two are going to get back together.
I do think it's so funny though. That's like you get these lines of mega exposition, like you say. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we broke up, and by the way, I got acquitted of murder, just in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah,
they've got to put these things in.
That's what I mean. Her explanation of how she's there is the only one that felt really forced.
Yeah,
that was the worst one.
It's in character for her to sort of jibber jabber everything.
Yeah.
But yes, it is very much. You know what she should have done? She should have just dropped a quick line telling us what happened to Narek, because we never found out at the end of season 1. He just disappeared in that last episode and we never saw him again. So that'd be nice. Just to, again, if you're going to address the fan issues, tell us what happened to Narek. Not that we care particularly, but... So yeah, what else? Oh yeah, and Seven's now... back to being a Fenris Ranger, and she's got La Serena, which is cool. And she's amalgamated all of the Holo Rioses, so we've just got one now.
Yeah.
That does everything, but it can't turn off its counselling program, so it's trying to give her advice and everything.
Yeah, and can we switch it to English? I'm sorry, I don't like reading TV. I'm sorry, I know I'm a Philistine.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't like reading TV.
I again, I know it makes me a Philistine.
It distracts me actually from what else is going on when I've got to read it.
That's exactly what I get, because I'm dyslexic, so it does actually take a little more effort. I can keep up with it, but it's sometimes at the expense of missing the drama, like you say, Elliot.
Yeah, I can either watch what's going on and not read what he's saying, or I can read what he's saying and I'll miss bits of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me too much, but there's no real need to do it this way. So anyway, I don't think we're going to see a huge amount of... Well, maybe we are, because it looks like La Serena's going to be the ship they're on for the rest of the season. So yeah, you never know. We find out though that Raffi and Seven are still a thing, but not...
Well, there's an audio drama that they released.
Yes, there is. We need to listen to that. And
because that does talk about them going off on an adventure.
Which one is it?
Relationship.
It's just come out. It's focused on Seven and Raffi, but it's like a full cast audio drama.
Oh, because I'm on an Audible thing at the moment. Yeah.
What's it called?
I forget what it's called, but there's only one official Picard one.
Yeah,
it'll be that one. So obviously they're going to develop, and the actresses have said as well that they are going to develop Seven and Rafi's relationship and look at that a bit more. 'Cause that was another one that sort of just came out of nowhere, really, at the end of the season. And
I'm good with that part of the series one for many different reasons, some of which I won't mention on this stream for family reasons.
I'm good with it, but again, it was just okay. But we're going to see where that goes. So obviously,
well, it's quite obvious why she ended up with Rafi, because she'd gone out with Chakotay and she thought that's it for men.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, you missed no opportunity for Chakotay slam.
Have a go
No.
at Chakotay. Not only did she do that, but she sabotaged the ship he was in, and he ended up back in the Delta Quadrant going missing with it. So that's going to be a twist.
Yeah, I was going to say, he said, oh, he was so upset he went off in his new ship thinking everything's going to be fine now. Where am I now?
Yeah. Well, we don't know. Thankfully, Chakotay is currently status missing. We may never see him again.
Yeah, he's MIA.
Yep. And then, so we get into the meat of the episode then. So they get this message, and the message says, "Help us, Picard." And so it's a good, intriguing setup. Like, again, we know it's going to be the Borg, but it's like, so why are the Borg asking for him and everything? So I think that's it's a good way to directly bring him into the action.
Yeah.
There's also a wonderful little, I've complained before about mystery box when they're not well open, shall we say, to reveal what's actually happening. But I kind of like the mystery box of the Borg, not like they're acting differently. They don't seem to be just out for evil. There seems to be some other modus operandi there, which is really
like they do say that the Borg's been devastated and all that, don't they?
Yeah.
And is that the results of Voyager?
I presume so. Yeah.
So Endgame was devastating to the Borg. How they destroyed them, and
I think that was hinted at. They never really said it, but in season 1, it was kind of hinted at that there was this crippled Borg ship, and something's happened to the Borg. It's not Borg as we know it, kind of these days.
Yeah, and it is interesting. Again, we may as well jump ahead briefly to talk about, like, I really like the discussion that they have about it on the Stargazer at the end, that you get Picard being full on Picard saying, this could be, a great alliance that we could make. It could be an amazing turning point in history. Whereas you've got Seven going, no, we need to kill them.
Seven is Kirk in Undiscovered Country here. Kill them. So. Let them die out.
Yeah. And it's perfect.
It looks like she might be right. Just going surface level on what we see in this episode.
I just want to say,
but
in this ready room scene, in the left-hand corner, there's this display case with the Stargazers in. They were made by Bill Krause, who's a member of one of my modelling groups.
Yes, I saw him on
Good work, Bill. Good work, Bill. I did really...
He's reached the ultimate thing that any modeller wants, where what you model is recognised by the show that you're doing, and they bring your work in.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite facts about the original series is they did the deal with Mattel, I think it was, to make the figures, and then if they needed another one for, if one got damaged when they were making the show, they just went down the local model shop and brought one. Like, you can't get much more screen accurate than that now. Like, and you have to pay a bit more for screen accurate ones. So the ones you get from toy shop wouldn't be quite that, shall we say?
No, not with not with 4K and everything. Now it's ruined so many things.
I thought it was just genius that they go down the local toy shop.
Absolutely. Like there's an episode.
The Constitution is just the AMT Enterprise model. They just went out to shop and bought a couple of them to do the Constitution.
There's an episode where Bashia's scanning someone with like a little tricorder thing, and it's a warp engine off the AMT Romulan Warbird kit.
Oh, nice!
It's just literally that prop. It's great.
Because one thing to tag up on what you were saying about the Borg, though, I really like that. See, in the first series, even though the main focus was the Borg, I think they used it very poorly, and you just saw characters. Oh, Hugh's back. Oh, he's dead now, is he? Okay, that's great. Whereas this time, tying it in with like the Borg in their crippled
Mind you, we
state
did do that
coming
with
back.
E-Chip. E-Chip's back. Way, he's dead.
Yeah, that one I wasn't so bothered about. But I'm just saying the way they used it to have the Borg, the the Borg that we know coming back in a crippled state, and then Seven's reaction to it is so much more compelling than anything they did with them in the whole first series.
Yeah.
Again, it's one episode. It's better than the entire first series.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I would say this is easily the best episode of Picard, if not the best episode of Star Trek since it came back. So
yes, it's right up there, isn't it?
definitely.
Cracking episode.
Picard goes to see Guinan then, so we finally get the reunion between Picard and Guinan.
Yeah, he goes to see her on Forward Avenue.
Yeah, Forward Avenue number 10.
Yeah.
So I bet they increased the price when they knew it was her asking. They're like, right, it's Guinan who wants it. So obviously, if she don't get this one.
Right from the beginning as well, she doesn't even turn around. It's like, I'm going to need a piping hot thing of Earl Grey.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Now,
no,
I
the
did
hard
like
liquor.
Now, I made a comment a few weeks back about Guinan being back and looking too old for a species.
Mm-hmm.
And she just covered it really nicely.
Yeah, they acknowledge
it was making people look uncomfortable. We can age when we want to.
Yeah, which makes sense. If you're working in the same place long enough, your punters are going to notice.
Yeah, it was making people uncomfortable.
That you're not aging, yeah.
It reminded me of something from LARP, of all things. But when I was doing live action role play with elves in the system I was playing in, they age when they're not, like when they've got periods of great activity, it keeps them young. If they kind of have times when they're kind of more retired, they age. And then if you get a new purpose, you can look younger again. And that felt very much akin to that.
Yeah, I think what they've done here with Guinan basically is say, yeah, we can be as old or as young as we want to be, so don't worry. That's fine.
Yeah.
And that also fixes any potential problems like, why does Guinan look older when they find her in Kirk's time in Generations than she did when we first meet her in TNG? You know, all that's fixed now.
Yeah.
Not that it was ever a huge problem, but just in case. So, yeah, and it's a great... You could argue that this is superfluous, really, because we've already had Picard talking about his feelings and his lack of love and everything. But you know what? This is just getting those two actors back together, those two characters back together.
She also makes the point that because I think this season is going to be about Picard that is being alone and should have found love, and I think it's going to end up with Laris because of it.
Also,
Guinan says that you've never told me what you saw. And she's talking about in the Nexus when he thought he was married with kids.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah.
Because I was going to add a few more things that she does add in this scene, which haven't already been covered. Because she does say, because he says, "Oh no, I have found love before." He goes, she says, like, only in situations where you know it can't last or it can't work. And you think back to everything which happened in the Next Generation, and that all fits that pattern. So it kind of answers that question before fans ask it, because they know fans will. Yeah. And there's also when they talk about oh God, what was the only other thing she said? Because there was like loads of little like moments like that, which kind of covers any questions which anyone might ask later. Like, oh Jesus Christ! No, it's gone. Sorry, I'll think of it in a second. But...
Laris, I think in the space of this episode, they have done a good job of putting a case forward for that. But I still want to see Beverly come back. Like,
oh yeah, that would be great. But no, the thing I was going to say, I remember now, because where Picard was talking about his, you see the flashbacks to his mum and everything. When she asks why he joined Starfleet, and then he gives such a cookie cutter, the answer every Starfleet captain gives, and know it's bullshit, and it's so obviously rehearsed and so obviously tried, and it's the sort of answer which Kirk would have given, and it would be true, because Kirk was all about the ego, and that's all he was, living ego, and the TV of the time was all about that. It was just about like, yeah, you join Starfleet to become a captain because you want to explore the stars. We don't need to look into backstories because that was the TV of the time. Whereas even with Next Generation at that time, they were a bit better at it, but they hadn't got to where we are now. So this kind of brings his story up to speed.
Yeah,
and why everything happened the way it did.
It's such a rote answer that he's even counting it off on his fingers as he's giving the reasons.
So I thought that was really well done. I think the scene was so necessary to really bring all those themes together, even though, as you say, we've mentioned it earlier in the episode.
Yeah. And then we get an admiral goes to see Picard. And again, this is a contrast to what we got in season 1 when people went to see Picard at the chateau and it was all very standoffish and aggressive. And instead, this time it's we've got a mission for you and he's off. We don't get an episode to think about it like we did in season 1. He's there. Maybe the shuttles are faster than they used to be because he seems to get there very, very quickly. But
well, let's be fair. The Stargazer got to the anomaly from wherever it was in the beta quadrant very, very quickly.
Yeah, true.
Because Jurati was still absolutely hammered by the time.
The Stargazer has got a Borg part, so it could use some transwarp technology.
Possibly.
Could well be. And so we get Picard to the Stargazer, and we're ready to move into the sort of final act of the episode. And Picard goes to talk to him, and at this point, if it wasn't clear already, it's definitely clear it's the Borg because they do that Borgy reverb when talking.
Yeah.
Everything like that. And then we get, which I'm sure, Elliot, you'll be able to tell us a bit more about it, but we get the shot of all the different ships. And again, we talked about it when we did the finale of Picard, and a lot of people did have an issue with the fact that it was all the same ship.
It was all the same ship.
But it made sense in the context because it was clearly told that it was a specific like assault force that Riker had. So that made sense within that context, but
not in other Starfleet Armadas that we've previously seen.
That's it. And whereas here, it's just everybody who's near enough needs to come here, sort of thing, and that's why you do get a variety.
So, if I can do it off the top of my head, we have the new Excelsior class.
Yep.
We have the new Stargazer class, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We get the first time on TV of the Sovereign class.
Yeah.
Never been done before. We get the Gagarin class, the Reliant class, there's 4 of them from Star Trek Online.
Yeah, and that's great that they're using the designs from online.
Because I have on the thumbnail for this episode, I have put the picture with all the ship classes.
Can I also say it's just so beautiful after watching Discovery, and even though I may not be even a tiny bit as dosed in lore as Admiral Elliot is with the ships, I love it when you drop science about the ships. But for me, Discovery is so frustrating for never really showing the ships. Like you've gone to this new future and you don't show one fucking ship up close. It's just so frustrating. Whereas this, in one scene, you see so much of the ships. You get to see around them.
That pan over the Stargazer that they did.
Oh,
yeah, great.
And it's just so noticeable, even to the casual fan of the ships.
So much detail. There wasn't any stupid lens flare or anything. It was detail.
It was brilliant.
And if this isn't going to be our hero ship,
exactly.
They've spent the time to do it though.
And as much as it's frustrating for someone who is such a ship aficionado as Elliot, for someone who's just enjoys the show and kind of likes the ships, even for me, it was really frustrating to never see an up close shot of any ship by the Discovery and Discovery. And this answered it in one episode.
Discovery, the lighting's just shocking.
Yeah, it's obviously a stylistic thing, but it's a bad stylistic thing. I want to see the ships, you know.
Who isn't curious about what the ships look like that far in the future?
Exactly. So we get into the action then. They want to beam the Borg Queen over. They say, we're going to send an emissary and it's going to be the Queen. And they don't want to do it. They try and put the shields up. The Borg get through the shields. And I'm going to call it Borg Queen Doc Ock because basically the Borg Queen turns up and grows tentacles that go and...
Now, I have no problem with that because we've seen these sort of tentacles coming down when they've put the head on and all that, haven't we?
No issue with it. I just think it's very Spider-Man-esque, which
is
fine.
May I also ask, where is Picard's occasional telepathy with the Borg. Like he doesn't have it in after he gets assimilated by the Borg in later episodes like Descent. He has it during the movies, and now he's lost it again.
Because he's in a different body.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, I forgot.
So
I forgot Robo Picard.
Now.
Yeah, this body wasn't assimilated. So maybe that's one of the benefits of being a robot now, is that you don't. Or arguably, it could be because it's a different type of Borg than what we've seen before. Like in Descent, it's a rogue faction of Borg rather than the collective. So
seems tenuous, but I like the headcanon of it, so I'll allow it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll probably address that, because if they're taking as much care with the detail as they appear to be doing, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't touch on that to some extent. And
I don't know, to be honest with you, if they do skip over it, I won't object, even though I'm picking holes. I don't want them to spend a lot of time on it.
No, it's one of them that it's there when it's needed, but not when it isn't.
Yeah.
But yes, so the Borg then, the motivation, she says, we want peace, because they've sent out, we forgot to mention, didn't we? They sent out this, we want to join the Federation thing.
Yeah.
But then she says, but we need power, and starts taking over. And notably, it is Seven who starts shooting, not the Borg. So the Borg only starts shooting potentially in retaliation, and they're only stunning people, not killing them.
Yeah.
Yes, which I love. That's such a cool kind of mystery.
Now,
so it does imply there's more to the Borg's motivation.
I think there's a lot more to what's going on here when she said she needs power.
But then why does she take over the Armada, and why does she say your time is up quite ominously at the end if she's not got nefarious intentions?
Maybe what Q does leads to this, like in a weird way, like it's a circle, a time loop.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got a feel like I think that we're going to go back to the Stargazer later.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a degree of Picard's journey will make him realize that he can, like, you know, the expansion of his mind to work with the Borg, to work with such an enemy, much like, as you said earlier about Kirk and the Klingons. He had to get to the headspace, and, you know, obviously 7 of 9 needs to get there. Maybe Picard isn't fully there as well, so he has to expand his mind as well.
Yeah, I think we're gonna come back to this scene, and we're gonna see it in light,
because like this is sort of like the start of the time loop or whatever, or change of reality.
And the Queen,
and I wonder if the power that she needs is to stop whatever Q's done, or to throw them through time, or to fix something else.
Yeah. And she needs the fleet to do it for some reason.
Well, she needs the power from all the fleet. She needs that much power.
Yeah, she could be. Yeah, trying to prevent a great catastrophe. Or something. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And it because she said there's no more time. We need peace, but first I need power.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that as a working theory. She does say, look up to Picard in a very human voice.
In his mother's voice.
In his mother's voice. So people are saying, oh, the Borg Queen's Picard's mum. Don't do that. I don't think...
please no. Please no.
What I see from that is Picard was assimilated, so they know everything about him.
I think that's it. I think
so they've used the memory. They've used the memory. And I think they're trying to give him a message that they're not aggressive by using that. They're trying to give him one of the most peaceful memories he has. And that's from his mum, a peaceful time and protecting.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. I don't think we need the Borg Queen to be Picard's mum, but people are speculating on it. So
if they do that, I take everything nice back I've said.
I've seen the speculation, and I think that's a load of rubbish.
I think it's wrong. Yeah. If it was Discovery, probably.
If they do that, they're going down the timeless trial Doctor Who.
Yeah,
which
they
I
are.
do not want to see.
But yeah, so
no, I think the big twist of this season is the Borg aren't taking over the fleet. The Borg are actually trying to stop a catastrophe, and she got enough power. That's why there's the flash of light that started all this change in reality, and she's had to do that for whatever reason.
Do you know what would be good? If
timey-wimey.
If it's the Borg trying to prevent something, it'd be really good if it was those weird aliens from the end of season 1 that were there to destroy all the synthetic life that disappeared. Like, recontextualize them to be something that's not just a pointless throwaway thing, you know, build on that and make it so a major plot point in season 1 was not completely worthless. So I would be happy for them to do that. I know there's probably a lot of people who like just forget about it. We're not bothered.
Also, we know from the trailer that Brent Spiner appears in the past, so maybe we'll get a third death for Data. That would be nice.
We may well do. So
Please
then,
God, no.
But he's appearing as he's not appearing as Data anymore.
No, obviously not. But I think it's going to be an ancestor, and I hope they don't do when you get back to the future, Data's back. No, don't do it. Data, look, let's just leave Data be now. I love Data, but
there's really strong on the male side of the Sung family. The genes are really powerful, aren't they? I mean, no matter how many generations, you look like Brent Spiner. So then, obviously, we blow up the ship, everything else. Picard wakes up in this alternative version, and
we haven't mentioned Q yet.
Well, we're getting
because we haven't got there yet.
Oh, sorry. Does he wake up in the past first?
He wakes up. It's not the past. He wakes up in it's the present, but it's an alternative present. So we've got this weird solar shield, which presumably is from Highlander 2. So maybe we're getting a crossover with Highlander 2, which, given the popularity of that film, I wouldn't be surprised. And there's some really cool like props and stuff going on in the background. Like it's all weapons, which is the opposite of Picard.
He's got like TOS movie era uniform in one of his pictures, but it's all black.
But it's very fascistic, isn't it?
It's like the Mirror Universe audio they did.
Very much so, yeah. There's a Cardassian skull with like what looks like a bullet hole in the spoon bit. So I'd like to assume that that's Gul Madred in this version. How many lights are there? And he's
got the picture of the Warship Enterprise.
Enterprise.
See this light, motherfudger.
There's also there's a Ferengi skull with the Grand Nagus' staff below it, so it looks like Picard's killed the Grand Nagus in this version of reality. And then we get Q, and we called this. We called what was going to happen.
We did call this. Can I just say one thing though? I love the fact that they clearly haven't got the Star Wars money or the Marvel money, so they have one scene of him looking. Like it's all right, but like I noticed they turn him to young as quickly as humanly possible, so you don't question the fact that it's not the best version, but it's fine. I'm glad they did it.
It did its purpose.
Yeah. But it's like they're going right. One line of dialogue before we turn him young.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not being funny, but even Star Wars ain't got the Star Wars money these days. Like,
oh no, Star Wars. It was actually in season 2. Do you know because they hired
at the end.
At the end of the season of Mandalorian, they have one scene with a young Luke Skywalker. Yeah. And guy goes, "That looks rubbish. Here's how you do it properly. Here's my deep fake." And they go, "Brilliant, we'll hire you. Come on for season 2 and look brilliant." Yeah, I love the fact they did that. That's so smart.
Yeah, well, like there was a guy did it. Doctor Who someone did a concept of what they thought the Peter Capaldi opening credits sequence should be. And the BBC were like, "We like that."
Yeah, come on board. That's genius. If someone does it better than you, hire them. Why not?
Viral marketing, brilliant. So if you want to replace Will Wheaton on the Ready Room, we'd be happy to do it. That's all. Not that we want Will Wheaton out of work. We think Will Wheaton's awesome.
Hey, look, we'll share it with Will.
Yeah, we'll share it. He can hand off to us, and you can still pay him the same, and it'll be fine. Young Q quickly to old Q.
You've aged more than I thought.
Yeah.
Let me catch up.
His hair was so jet black. Just sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, it was.
But I still like it.
Yeah, it was pretty iffy. They should have just used the picture. Which again, going back to Doctor Who, it's Tom Baker's last story, where he's fighting with the Master on a big like telegraph pole, and they've
telescope.
It's big
Farrell's
telescope,
project.
radio telescope.
And they've literally got a cutout of the master, and it just don't move. And it's literally a standee of him, just like for anyway.
Do you know there's a scene? Sorry, really off topic again, but like with 007 with James Bond, they had one with Roger Moore where if you pause on the scene because they couldn't get him back for reshoots, it's literally him painted onto a wall. There's an actual scene.
Brilliant. He probably acted better than that's Roger was
R.I.P.
Roger was great as James Bond.
The trial never ends, and I think Picard's about to tell him that he ain't got any time for his bullshit, but we're probably going to have to wait till next week to see.
Well, it does say you're at the end of the road, not taken, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going anytime for your bull.
So I think we're going to see that. That'll be the teaser next week, won't it?
And I love I think it was for the teaser for the next episode, but he goes, "This isn't trial. This is retribution," which I really love the idea that. Q in some level is trying to make him suffer for something. Like he's gone a bit more sadistic. That I wouldn't mind. I think that fits Q.
Bringing back season 1 and 2 darker Q.
Yeah, I mean, I still want him to by the end be on Picard's side in a way, but I feel like he's got to be quite antagonistic first, and then maybe give a little helping hand. That's kind of.
I think he's always. In his later appearances, he's always pushing Picard towards something. Like he wants Picard to pass the test and make the right decision and prove to him that humanity's better. But I think he kind of thinks it's not going to happen.
And he wants to torture him first.
Yeah, stop underestimating Picard because he always manages to get it right in the end.
Well, it's like that mentor you have in a job or in your life or whatever, who always kind of like puts you through the ringer, and you hate him for it, but you've got to admit you're better at the end of being around them. That's Q for Picard, I think. Yeah. Picard will never admit it, but he is better for having known Q. He has actually expanded his mind.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I hope we get, this is probably, we know this is going to be the last time we're going to see Picard. Possibly not the last time we'll see Q. We might prop up in other stuff, but let's have an acknowledgement that these two are actually friends. It'd be nice to finally admit that. But excellent opening episode. I think we're all agreed, aren't we? And very much looking forward to see where the rest of the season goes. So next week, we will be back to cover Picard episode 2. We will go back to Discovery, where I think we get to meet the 10C this week. So fingers crossed. We'll see how that pans out. We will come back to...
If it's Burnham's parents, I'm going to shoot someone.
No, it's not. No more. But we will cover the episodes we've missed at some point.
Probably during Lower Decks or Prodigy. Probably more likely Prodigy because this Lower Decks leans itself to covering other episodes.
It does indeed, probably during second half of season 1 of Prodigy or what have you. What have you got coming up?
Oh, yeah, I should have something coming up, shouldn't I? Well, Dr. Screw show every Tuesday on swtwentyradio.co.uk and available afterwards on podcast. I've recently had Cheryl Baker and Greg Proops from Whose Lines It Anyway. Cheryl Baker, obviously, from The Fizz. And Fizz is known now. It used to be known as Bucks Fizz. So those are a couple of recent ones which are coming out on podcast this week because I'm a little bit behind.
Excellent. And if you want to get in touch with us, we're at RetrekPod on Twitter. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com, or you can come and join us on Facebook. And thanks for trekking with us this time. We will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you.
Live long and prosper.